Scrap, 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 scrap.
Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. From what I'm seeing, Figueiredo is about a 2-1 favorite for this fight. Maybe a little more than that. But the first fight was extremely close. It was a draw, correct? Yes, it was a draw.
Because Figgy lost a point.
Figgy did lose a point, but the fight was still close throughout.
Fight was close indeed.
Do you think that this fight is going to be similarly close, or do you think one man sees an advantage in the first fight that they'll be able to exploit, or that there's something different that wasn't there in the first bout?
I think that Figgy will be healthier in this, and we'll have a little bit more of an edge in the physicality department.
Okay.
One of the things that I noticed, he didn't really seem to have the strength in his, he's a violent dude. He throws with intent and all that, but he definitely seemed to not have the horsepower to really get as physical as he wanted to with Moreno when he needed to. So I expect him to be a little bit healthier, to have a little bit more strength when they're in close, and I don't expect Moreno to have as much success when he's getting able to push Figgy around a little bit when they're up against the cage and when they're striking up, because I felt as though
you attributed some of the lack of perceived pop or drive or whatever it was to the illness that Figueiredo supposedly suffered like the day after weigh-ins, or
apparently it was the day of.
He weighed in and then he shot himself all night.
Sounds like a great time.
So you're putting a lot of stock into that.
Well, it's one of the things, like they seemed to be they were matched up very well skill wise, and it was a fun fight. But that was one of the things that seemed to be, it seemed to be standing out to me, is that Moreno, when they got in close and when they were had to just collide with each other and really get physical with it, he seemed to be the stronger and healthier of the two, and I feel like that may not be the case this time.
That's interesting. Figueiredo is a freaky athlete, and every time he was taken down, you could still see him use, there was some like butterfly guard stuff, but a lot of raw explosion to get back to his feet. I didn't really see a different guy athletically. I actually, if anything, I was impressed by the cardio of Deiveson Figueiredo in that first fight. Like, for somebody that cuts weight, has a notoriously hard weight cut, and is that shredded at the weight class, not a microfiber of fucking fat on him.
Yeah.
I don't know. At first I was like, Figueiredo, look at that win rate. He's a monster. He's a savage. He kills people. But Moreno, you start tuning into things like his age-adjusted experience. I haven't done all the numbers yet. He's 18-5 in his career at 27 years old. Figueiredo is 19-1 at 33 years old. They have comparable experience. I don't know their pad rate, who has like a stronger strength of schedule overall. And that's something that I'm really going to factor in, because that may have been an underrated variable coming into this fight. One of the things I knew ahead of this fight was that it was going to be a dog fight. It was not going to be the same type of rampages where Figueiredo just fucking mollywops, ends the person in the first round like he had been doing. Moreno checks out durability-wise.
Yeah. So
my issue with Figueiredo is when he can't get people out of there, he's not the most technical guy. He relies a lot on athleticism. And I'm wondering if Moreno can exploit those margins a little better this time around. And I'm thinking that he can.
Figgy actually just did an interview where he talked about that. He said he's been like paying attention to other champions like Kamaru, and he's said he's been too reckless, and he's going to try and hold his guard higher and take his time more. And not be so reckless in the cage.
Well, that's an interesting disposition. And that's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it's going to help or hurt him. Because one of the things about Figueiredo is the violence with which he fights is part of what makes him effective, in my opinion.
He said he's not going to chase the knockout too hard, and he wants to let it come more.
Okay. Well, he might just end up eating volume combinations and waiting on those counter opportunities. What I do know is he hit Moreno with some hard shots, and I don't know that he hit Moreno with the harder shots. He got kicked in the head. Deiveson Figueiredo is a freaky athlete, but Moreno is scrappy as hell. And I think that people underrate him as an athlete. I think people also underrate his amount of experience and the quality of that experience. I think that this is a more even fight than the odds are letting on, just as the first one was. And I'm excited to see the adjustments that Moreno made as the younger athlete with comparable experience. I see greater plasticity and more growth potential there.
So, officially,
Well, I can't give an official prediction yet because I haven't reviewed the numbers. But right now,
initially,
at first I thought it was Figueiredo, and as I'm looking more into it, I'm giving Moreno more of a chance.
Scrap, 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 scrap.
I'm mean, I'm fierce, I'm mad, I'm rude. I got that pro fighter attitude. I'm in the octagon with the podcast on. Let's talk about it on Scrap the Two.